the SAMFund. And I'm joined by Michelle Zietler, our program director, and Arielle Haspel, who I will introduce in just a moment, today's presenter. Just a few quick notes before we get started. You will notice on your screen that there's a box where you can enter questions. So feel free to just type those in whenever they come up during the next hour, and Michelle will either pass them along to Arielle or she'll answer them over the computer if she can. So just keep them coming. If after the fact you realize that there are questions or follow-up questions you want to ask, feel free to email us anytime at info@thesamfund.org, and we will forward them on to Arielle. Also, for your reference and for the reference of anyone you know that might find this relevant and helpful, this webinar is being recorded, so it will be archived on our website, which is www.thesamfund.org, and also on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/samfundtv. So feel free to pass it along. They're free for download. They're archived from now until forever. So anyone that you know that might benefit from the information Arielle's going to provide is welcome to visit the presentation anytime. So with that said, let's jump right in. We are so excited to welcome today's presenter. Arielle Haspel is a longtime friend of mine and is the founder of a website called BeWellWithArielle.com. She's a certified health coach and a nutrition expert, and she's going to give us all a little bit of guidance on not only how to keep ourselves healthy and well by making good choices when it comes to food and cooking, but also how to do all of that when we don't necessarily have the funds to always buy organic and afford those types of items. Because I know as cancer survivors, all of us are told all the time by our doctors and by everyone around us how important it is to eat healthy and to keep ourselves well and to eat local and organic and all of that. But a lot of times that information is given to us in a vacuum without any regard for the fact that a lot of us don't have any money left after cancer is behind us. So Arielle has put together a presentation for you guys today that will help you not only get some tips and resources for eating healthy and taking care of yourself both within your house and also when you eat out, but also we'll keep in mind that we don't have limitless budgets, and she's going to really be able to help us do this in a way that works for everybody. So she's going to start in a minute. I just wanted to give you her website again, which is BeWellWithArielle.com. Also let you know that she has a cookbook forthcoming, hopefully launching this fall, which you can learn more about on her website. And also at the end of July, she has an upcoming video series, The Self Magazine, which is really exciting. So hopefully today's webinar is really just a starting point for everybody, and you can follow up with Arielle through her website. You can keep track of her and all the great things that she's doing online and in the community, and really take this opportunity to learn from her because she's got a wealth of information in her brain, and we're just very, very fortunate and grateful that she's willing to share it with us today. So, Arielle, it is all yours.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited to be here with everyone. Let me just put my slideshow on. All right. Eating healthy on a budget. So today, as you both mentioned, I'm going to give you my top 10 tips, easy tips, fun tips for eating healthy on a budget. You know, we all know that eating healthy can be really expensive. I mean, jars of organic peanut butter are now running like $20. And I definitely spend more on food than I do on clothes. That's one of my choices in life. But eating healthy can actually be inexpensive, and it can be easy as well. So today I'm going to give you tips on the right foods to purchase at the supermarket, the helpful shopping techniques, helpful preparation techniques, and also techniques, tips that you can learn from at restaurants to help save you some cash. So are you all ready? All right, well, I heard some cheering on. So, okay, so let's get started. So as you both mentioned, thank you for the nice intro. My name is Arielle Haspel, and I am a nutrition and lifestyle expert. As they mentioned, my company is called Be Well with Arielle, and my website is BeWellWithArielle.com. So I have tons of recipes on there. They're all healthy, they're all delicious, and they are super easy to make. So hope you check out my website when we're done. I also conduct one-on-one coaching sessions with people like yourself looking for a dose of positivity and inspiration and also affordable, healthy living tips. So I hope you check out my cooking series at the end of July as well for Self Magazine. And other than that, let's get started. So today, as we mentioned, we're talking about eating healthy on a budget. But very often it's not just what you're picking up at the supermarket. It's really how are you staying organized? How are you planning out your meals? So my number one tip about, well, it's not really my number one, but tip number one about for eating healthy on a budget is to stay organized. So what I really recommend is to plan your meals. Write down what you need. Before heading to the grocery store, think about what you need for the week. Are you going to work? Are you going to be eating at home? What is your schedule going to be like? That way, when you go to the store, you won't buy any unnecessary ingredients or anything that you may waste. And again, write down what you need, so when you go to the supermarket, you're super prepared. The next thing is stock up. So I always recommend, when you're at the grocery store, stock up on foods that you like and, of course, that are healthy. So, again, it saves you a trip to the market, more time to spend on other things that make you happy. Also, if there are sales, stock up on sale items. Very often you don't want to spend even more money than you have to, but if it's, a container of almond milk that won't go bad in your pantry or has, a later expiration date, that's definitely something that you could stock up on, especially if there's a sale. What I always find is, when I get home late from work or, it's been a long weekend and I don't really, I don't want to order in, I don't want to spend the money on ordering in, I'll make something quick at home, and the only way that I can do that is if I have stuff already in my kitchen. So that's definitely something that I recommend. Another thing that I recommend that you've probably heard before, but do not go shopping hungry. You'll definitely be less likely to make any last-minute purchases if you have a plan, and it will end up saving you a lot of money when you go to the market because you have a little something in your stomach and you're not going to be making unhealthy choices and picking up a bag of cookies just because you're super hungry and you want something fast. So that's a healthy recommendation, a healthy tip, and a saving cash tip. So my next tip is buying in bulk. So a lot of supermarkets have it. I think that it's becoming definitely more popular. Some supermarkets don't have a bulk aisle, but if you do, then I definitely recommend checking it out. When I first started going to nutrition school, I never bought the things in the bulk aisle, but after nutrition school, that's really my go-to when I go there now. It will save you a ton of money, and some of the healthiest foods are actually found in the bulk aisles, like nuts and beans and grains. Just be sure to read the ingredients. Very often they have the ingredients, even if it's a bag of nuts, even if it's just a bin of nuts. Just make sure that you read the ingredients, just so you're not, make sure that you're not getting any additives. But again, it will save you a lot of money because when you buy in bulk, even if it's just a scoopful of raw almonds, it's definitely more likely to be less expensive than a bag that's already on the shelf. I also recommend picking up, there are many different varieties in the bulk aisle. So one of my favorites is definitely nuts. I love getting some almonds or walnuts or pecans or pistachios. You can make a delicious trail mix out of it. Seeds, also great for a trail mix. Pumpkin seeds are usually in the bulk aisle. They're super high in potassium. Sunflower seeds are great. They're high in fiber. I love sesame seeds. Those are often in the bulk aisle as well, and they have some calcium, so it's good for your bones. I love sprinkling it on top of salads or even on top of some chicken or on top of some rice. So you could always find sesame seeds there, and they're most likely cheaper than if you buy a container of them. I also love unsweetened coconut in the bulk aisle. You can add it to some trail mix for a little tropical flair. Grains, brown rice is usually in the bulk aisle, quinoa, beans, and lentils. I once made a split pea soup for 6 people, and it was under $3. So you could even make that for yourself, 6 servings. So that would be like 6 days of eating lentils. I don't know how happy your stomach would be if you ate 6 days of lentils, but it would be $3. So imagine, buying all those lentils for lunch, 6 days worth, just $3. So that's definitely a a wallet saver. You can also sometimes make your own nut butter. So if you have a supermarket, check out if they have a nut butter maker. It's usually a really fun machine, and it's really fun to make, but kind of looks like a frozen yogurt machine, and it's often cheaper if you buy the peanut butter or the almond butter and make it yourself in the container than if you buy an already packaged container of nut butter.
So Arielle, just one quick question before you continue, and you may be tackling this later, so just let us know. But when you're talking about the bulk bins, and especially with the nuts and the grains and all of that, do you have to buy organic everything?
I am going to touch upon that. I'm definitely going to touch upon that. So yeah, I will touch upon that. Don't want to give it away before I get there.
No problem.
So the next tip is to drink water. So this is, one of the cheapest ways to feel better fast, and, water helps hydrate our muscles, it helps energize us, and it helps us feel and look good. Now what I don't mean is to drink water from the grocery store. I really mean tap water. A lot of nutrition experts out there, especially for cancer survivors, will say, you need a certain water, you need spring, you need high in minerals, you need high in pH. I say water is definitely something that you can save your money on. So I say go for the tap water. I would definitely say, if you're curious about filtering, I would suggest a filtering system like a Brita system. And if you're worried about, some waters in different states have depleted minerals from the water, so you can always add, it's called trace minerals. A container is about $5 to $10, and you can always add it to your water if you're nervous about that. But in general, I love tap water. It's definitely a good money saver. You also save the whales and the sanitation system because you're foregoing those plastic bottles. There's also a chemical in plastic bottles that are not so good for us. So buy a pretty water bottle, something that you are excited to drink out of. I love this company. I didn't write it on here, but it's called mybkr.com. You can actually find it on Amazon, and it's about $30 for a bottle, which is probably more expensive for a water bottle than I've seen. However, it's glass, so it's dishwasher safe. It's definitely reusable, and I can't tell you how much money I've saved from not going to the grocery store and picking up even those cartons of bottles, or even just a bottle here and there for $1 or $2. So definitely get a nice bottle. So my next tip is when you get home from the grocery store, I recommend after you shop, go home and cut everything up yourself. Very often there are a lot of foods out there, especially right when you walk into the produce aisle, they cut up strawberries or they cut up pineapples. Dole is now even selling a cut up apple slices container, which is great for kids, great to put in their lunch boxes. However, those containers are so much more expensive than if you just purchase one apple. So what I definitely recommend is cut your veggies and cut your fruit yourself. Again, eating on a budget takes a little preparation, and of course there are probably nights that when you get home and you're too tired to make something, so you end up just ordering in or going out to a restaurant, but you can definitely limit the last-minute restaurant excursion, and you could save cash if you have stuff prepared. It also really helps to eat healthy when you open up your fridge and you already have, your veggies cut up, even just, red pepper slices, or even just cut up strawberries that you've already cut up. You open up your fridge, it looks pretty, and you go and grab that instead of a cookie out of your pantry. So when it comes to veggies, especially lettuce, which is the first one here, I definitely recommend purchasing a non-bagged or boxed lettuces. The boxed ones are definitely easy to use, but if you're looking to save cash, you're actually paying them to wash it and chop it for you. So an easy way to save it is to wash it and chop it yourself, get it fresh, non-bagged, and when you get home, wash it and chop it. You could put it into a Tupperware container or even a bowl. What I recommend to save it, because I know that a lot of people are probably saying, well, my greens don't last. Well, mine didn't either until this tip. You guys ready? All right, I hear some cheering. So this is how you save greens. When you take home your greens, chop them up, put them into a Tupperware container or a bowl, and put just a wet paper towel. You can wring it out a little bit. Put a wet paper towel on top of the greens. Even if you put the greens into a plastic bag, just put it in with a wet paper towel, and it helps keep your lettuce super, super fresh. So that's about it about that. So buy a red pepper, cut it up, put it into a bowl. Buy some fruit, buy apples, cut it up. Sometimes apples will turn a little bit, they'll discolor a little bit, but you can put some lemon on it, which is also alkaline and good for you if you're a cancer survivor. All right, next tip. Cook once, eat twice. So this is a way to not only save cash but also save time. So what I always recommend when it comes to dinners especially, even just in general, I always recommend making a big batch of something, keeping it plain so you can repurpose. So for example, on Sunday night I like making a big batch of brown rice or brown rice pasta or quinoa. And then every day after that I'm able to repurpose it. So for example, as you'll see on the left, I made breakfast with my quinoa, and I made dinner with my quinoa. So on Sunday night I'll make a big batch of plain quinoa. The morning after I'll just add some almond milk. I'll add a little bit of unsweetened coconut. You can put some nuts on top, and if you heat it up it's kind of like an oatmeal, and there you go. You have breakfast ready. And for dinner, I get home, I've already have the quinoa prepared, and I just scramble some egg in a pan, and I've used some frozen veggies that you can either saute in a pan or you can defrost it, add it all together, and your dinner is ready in less than 10 minutes.
So, Arielle, I think I probably speak for everybody on this webinar when I say I'm suddenly starving. But we just want to ask if the recipes that you just showed the pictures of now are available on your website.
They certainly are. They certainly are. Is there a way that we can send out an email to all the recipients after?
Sure.
Okay, great. So any of the recipes that I talk about today we'll include in the email, and we can send it out as well, so you don't have to search all over my website. But yes, those two especially are on my website.
Great. Thank you.
All right, tip number 6. So affordable, healthy kitchen must-haves. So I definitely recommend stocking your fridge with items that last, but also that repurpose, so food doesn't go to waste, but also foods that really add a lot of depth and flavor to your dishes. So even if you have, frozen spinach, adding some sea salt or even some pepper on top, or even some toasted sesame oil will just add so much flavor, and all you're doing is using frozen spinach and some spices. Spices are typically pretty inexpensive. You can get them for like $1 or $2. They add tons of flavor. Some even add tons of nutritional benefits. And the best of all, they last for months. Also, a lot of spices, if you're into calorie counting, which I actually am not. I'm more into ingredient counting, looking at ingredients and really knowing what ingredients are in your food. But if you are into ingredients and calories, usually spices are a really, really good way to add a lot of flavor without caloric content. I love just a few spices I just wanted to call out. I love cinnamon. You can see it here at the front of my spice cabinet, which I've turned my microwave into my spice cabinet. But I love cinnamon. You can add it to plain oatmeal. You can add it to coffee. You can add it to smoothies. I love adding it to baked goods. You actually end up using a lot less sugar if you use cinnamon, because the cinnamon actually really brings out the sweetness. It's also really good for your blood, and it's also anti-inflammatory. So again, what I mentioned just before is sea salt. Sea salt adds tons of flavor. What I recommend is looking for sea salt. You want a good quality sea salt, so this is definitely something that I would splurge on. But my sea salt lasts months and months and months and months, and I cook almost every other night. So if you don't cook every other night, which I hope you do after this call, I hope you're inspired to cook more. But even if you're not such a cook every night, the sea salt will last you a long time. Look for sea salt that's either light gray or pink. You'll see here in my picture that I have a Himalayan pink salt. You also want it to look a little wet. This means that it's higher in minerals and it's less processed. So it's not going to make you bloated or thirsty, and it will bring out a lot of flavor into your food. I love also nuts. Again, you know, as I mentioned in the bulk aisle, but nuts are a little bit more expensive, but a little goes a long way. They fill you up. They're high in good fats and protein, and they're great for a quick, healthy pick-me-up and snack. Again, they're also, you know, a money saver because they last you a long, long time, and they're really versatile. So you can add some nuts on top of salads. You can roast some almonds with some honey and cinnamon and some coconut. I have that recipe on my site, which I'll send out as well. Or you could even put some nuts on top of, you know, some sweet potatoes, or even some fish or some chicken.
So we had a couple of questions come in before you go to the next slide, if
yeah,
that's okay.
Go for it.
So the first question is, if you have an overload of greens, is it okay to freeze them, and do you have to blanch them first?
If you have an overload of greens, you can definitely just put them in raw, and then you can also, you don't have to blanch them first. You could just put them, I would definitely wash them first, make sure that they're dry, and then you could put them in the freezer.
Great. And the other question was about rinsing a can of beans. She wanted to know, if she rinses a can of beans like crazy, is it healthy enough, or should she be soaking dry beans instead?
Good question. So I definitely recommend, you know, fresh is best. So what that means is non-canned variety. I use canned beans all the time, and actually I really suggest using canned beans because it is super fast, super easy, and still affordable. What I do recommend is that you definitely need to soak beans. This is actually my next thing, so thank you so much for mentioning this. But you definitely need to rinse beans, whether or not you're using dried beans or from a can, just because it's been sitting in stuff, even if it's just, you know, salt that they've added. You definitely want to rinse them, and you want to soak them because it will aid in digestion. So a lot of people don't eat beans because it will make them a little gassy and a little bloated, but if you actually soak them or even just rinse them off, that will definitely help ease digestion. In terms of canned beans, they're super inexpensive, and again, they're already cooked, so they're ready to eat, and they last in your pantry for months. So do dry beans. They're high in protein, high in fiber. In regards to the canned beans, though, I would definitely recommend looking for BPA-free cans. It means that there's a chemical in the actual can that doesn't seep into the bean. If you can't find that, I wouldn't really worry, but I would suggest looking for that. If it's a little more expensive, I would definitely recommend splurging on a BPA-free can. Nowadays, they have boxes at Whole Foods. The actual Whole Foods brand makes a box of chickpeas, so a lot of people don't like the taste from canned stuff. So actually, even like canned soup, so now they're making a lot of things in boxes, and it doesn't give you kind of like that irony canned taste. So I would definitely recommend splurging and getting one of the boxes as well. One of the reasons why I love canned beans, you can add them to salads, you can saute them with a little bit of frozen spinach, you can make, if you have a blender at home, you can blend them some chickpeas, and you can blend it with some olive oil, and you can make your own hummus. So you can actually save money on buying hummus at the store, and you can actually make it yourself, and there's a great recipe on my site for that. You can also just eat them right out of the can, but of course rinse them first, or you could even roast them in the oven, which I love to do. I love making a chickpea crouton, which I call it. It's just roasted chickpeas, and you put in the oven for about 25 to 35 minutes, and it roasts, it gets really crunchy, and then you could just eat them as a snack or put them on salad. So love that. And again, it's a snack that's about $1 to $2. So you could bring it to work, or you can eat it at home. Or you could top on salads if it's a crouton. In regards to frozen veggies, I love frozen spinach. Very often when you buy frozen vegetables, it's actually, and also frozen fruit, it's actually cheaper than buying the fresh varieties. Again, I do recommend fresh is best, but if you are looking to save some money, it also lasts forever, so I would recommend using, you know, frozen fruits and vegetables. Again, I love using frozen spinach. You could toss it into smoothies. You can add them to omelets. You don't even need to, you don't even need to defrost them. You can also add it to tomato sauce. You can heat up a little tomato sauce, add in some frozen spinach, and then add it to some, brown rice pasta, and there you go. You've got a dinner for yourself. I also love keeping frozen peas and even frozen okra in my freezer as well. And again, you can just saute it in a pan with a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of sea salt, or you can steam them however you like to eat it. In terms of frozen fruit also, again, it's just so versatile, and again, it lasts forever. So you're not going to be wasting food. You can also, you can use frozen fruit to put in a smoothie. I also have I call it a water fruit sangria. So I just have a pitcher of water. This is actually a great thing to serve at a dinner party or a brunch party or a barbecue, especially a summer barbecue. I love just having a pitcher of water and then adding in some frozen fruit, whether it's like frozen peaches or frozen pineapple, frozen raspberries. The water absorbs all the fruit and it tastes delicious. The water actually turns color and it looks like a fruit punch, and there's no added sugar. It's just fruit, so it's super healthy, it's inexpensive, and it's totally delicious. So I would definitely recommend doing that. In regards to saving cash also, right now fruit is going to be on sale a lot because it's in high demand and it's growing everywhere. So if you do find that, raspberries or blueberries or blackberries are on sale, pick up the sale items, and you can wash them off, put them into a freezer bag or put them into a Tupperware, and you can freeze it yourself. So that's also another way to save money. You can buy the items on sale and then freeze it yourself. In regards to all this freezing and reusing, I would definitely recommend getting, either plastic Tupperware or mason jars. You could save your money on plastic baggies, and you can also put them in the dishwasher so they're ready to reuse. So you could save some cash on plastic bags as well. All right, so tip number 7, what you mentioned before, Sam. So when to splurge and when to save. So people ask me all the time, my clients ask me all the time, is eating organic necessary? What's worth it? Now here's the deal. My thought is that, treating yourself with high quality foods is definitely an investment. And it's definitely a long-term investment. Now, I know, as I mentioned before, that there are so many options at the supermarket, and there's organic, there's conventional, there's non-organic. You never know what to buy. And as we all know, organic is definitely pricier. I mean, organic nut butter now is like $20. So I know that you'd rather save your money or spend it on something else. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to help you simplify what organic means, just so we're clear about that, and then also what you could save on and what you could splurge on. So one, just want to be clear about what organic means. So what organic means in fruits and vegetables, it means that there's no unnecessary pesticides and chemicals on it. So pesticides and chemicals can actually disrupt our skin, it can disrupt our liver, and it can disrupt our organs as well. I gave an example, but it ensures that your apples and your carrots weren't sprayed with chemicals, and those chemicals are ultimately killing, little bugs. They're killing little things. So if we want to be our healthiest self, we do want to try to get, organic when possible, because it does ensure that it's not sprayed with chemicals, which kill, living things ultimately. What organic means when it comes to animals, it means that animals are fed a diet free of antibiotics and growth hormones and GMOs, genetically modified foods, which can also affect our metabolism and our blood and our hormones. So when it comes to splurging or saving, what I would definitely recommend, when possible, is to splurge and buy organic when it comes to animal proteins. So that's beef, chicken, poultry, dairy. So when it comes to milk, when you buy that milk, I would definitely recommend splurging and buying organic milk. Organic yogurt, a lot of Greek yogurts on the market, even though they're super high in protein and quote-unquote super healthy, some of those yogurts are not organic. So I would definitely recommend even getting one with less protein, but getting an organic variety. Definitely getting organic butter and trying to get some organic cheese as well. When it comes to eggs as well, something that I didn't mention on here, but I would definitely recommend what it says on egg cartons. What you really want to look for is pasture raised. So what that means is it most likely doesn't have growth hormones, so you're not putting unnecessary hormones into your body. And in addition, what pasture-raised means is that the chickens are actually running around the field and soaking up the sunshine. And as we all know, when we soak up the sunshine, it makes us feel good because it's vitamin D into our blood. So that's what's going on in the eggs too. When they're running around and they're free, it means that they're getting exercise, they're happier, and they're soaking up the vitamin D. And that ultimately is what we're eating. So when you're looking for eggs, try to look for pasture-raised. When it comes to vegetables and fruit, I'm not going to get into it, but you can find that information on ewg.org. It's called the Dirty Dozen, and what that means is that it's the 12 vegetables and fruit that you should definitely try to steer away from. There's some fruit that has higher pesticides, and there's some fruit that has lower pesticides. So the opportunity to save, what can you buy organic? So as you mentioned before, as you asked before in the bulk aisle, what I would recommend if you want to save, splurge on the meat, splurge on the eggs, splurge on the milk, but you can purchase non-organic nuts, nut butters and seeds. Oil, so your olive oil or your flax oil, your sesame oil can be non-organic as well. Grains, when you're looking for pasta or oats, of course you can buy non-organic. Now again, I definitely would recommend buying organic, but if you're looking to really save your cash, I would definitely recommend that you can steer clear of these for the organic varieties. When it comes to beans, especially canned beans, chickpeas, black beans, lentils, you can go for non-organic, and then the Clean 15, which you can find at ewg.org as well. Excuse me. So again, if you're really looking to save your cash because your budget is tight and you can't afford to buy everything listed in the organic list, definitely make the one swap to animal proteins. And remember that all of your healthy choices really add up to a healthy feeling and a healthy body. All right. So tip number 8, use coupons. So what I definitely recommend is at your supermarket, look at the flyers that they have in the front, or they sometimes have them at the customer service counters. You can also sign up. Some supermarkets have email lists, or you can also like them on Facebook, and very often they'll have coupons or discounts or promotions, so you can always keep on track, keep up to date with your supermarket's coupons. There are also special coupon sites where you can find where to save money. So these are some listed: mambosprouts.com, organicdeals.com, savingnaturally.com, and wholefoodsmarket.com/coupons. And there you could save a lot of cash on coupons. And these are a lot of especially organic brands that you maybe wouldn't pick up because it's a little more expensive, but it may be a little more affordable because you have a coupon. All right, next. So those fruit and veggies I took a picture of. I picked those up from the farmer's market last weekend. Some dill and peas and zucchini and strawberries, and those are golden beets. Yum, yum. So when you're looking to save money, I would definitely recommend looking for local or fresh. Local and fresh is best because it's healthier, but also it often is cheaper as well. So as mentioned earlier, buy fresh from the supermarket aisle. Very often, some stores will have it. I know Trader Joe's doesn't often say where fruit and vegetables come from, but Whole Foods mentions it, and I know that a lot of other stores mention it as well. But try to look where your fruit and veggies are coming from. I think that's super important. For example, an apple that's coming from Guatemala that took 2 airplanes and 5 highways and finally get into the produce aisle in the supermarket versus an apple that was picked maybe at a farm an hour away, and that was picked 2 days ago versus 2 weeks ago. That will definitely affect our body differently, and very often it's going to be cheaper, less expensive than the apple from Guatemala. Also local farmers markets. If you have a farmers market local nearby, take a trip. You're saving money. Sometimes vegetables and fruit can be a little more expensive there, but very often you'll be saving your cash. And fruit and vegetables at a farmers market taste so much better as well. So you'll be treating yourself right, and you'll be even more satiated because the fruit and veggies are really, really good. You'll also be supporting your farmers too. If you don't know about a local farmers market near you or you want to find another one, I've included a link here, so it's called localharvest.com. And then also, some of you out there might be saying, what is a CSA? A CSA is it stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and what that is that in many states they have food delivery services straight from the farms. So you actually pay a certain amount of a week's worth of veggies, and they deliver it either right to your home, or you pick it up at a nearby location like a church or a school. And you're supporting local farmers. You end up spending probably less on a whole package of veggies, like this amount of veggies to your left, as if versus if you were to buy all of these veggies at a supermarket. And also you end up becoming really creative with veggies and fruit because you have an excuse to make them. And everything is local and just so delicious and seasonal that your body will love you back for eating, because seasonal foods your body actually craves. So for example, right in New York right now, they're growing zucchinis and strawberries and high water content foods to help cool our bodies, because it is getting hot in New York over here. So to kind of sum it all up, I always talk about the myth that eating healthy is expensive, but the truth is that if you shop smart and you spend your money on food that tastes good and is good quality, like beans and bulk grains and nuts, and good quality frozen veggies, it will not only heal you at the same time, but it can actually act as one of your medicines, which of course is definitely a long-term investment. So if you are inspired and you want some more delicious recipes or healthy living tips, I've included a snapshot of my website here, so you can go to www.bewellwitharielle.com, and I actually just posted those chocolate chip ice cream cookie sandwiches last week, one of my favorite recipes. It's made with delicious healthy cookies made by Mary's Gone crackers and a delicious coconut milk-based filling inside. So those are really good. But anyway, if you're inspired and you want more recipes and cooking tips, you could sign up for my newsletter. And you can also follow me on Instagram at BeWellWithArielle. I always provide fun and healthy tips and some healthy recipes. And I also sometimes post eating healthy on a budget there as well. I do have private clients, so if you're interested in having a private coaching session, you can email me at arielle@bewellwitharielle.com, and we can set up a time to chat. And this week only, I'm giving my cookbook free with one session. So if you're interested, you can email me, and we could set up a time to chat. So that is it for now, and I think that we're going to open it up to questions.
So we do have a few.
Great.
I'm sure everybody's first question is, can we just come to your house for dinner?
You're all welcome.
So,
no, in all seriousness, I do have many events. So if you don't live in the New York area, hopefully I'll come to a state near you. But sign up for my newsletter, and on my services on the top of my website, it's called Services, and you can go down to events. And I very often travel a lot, so hopefully I'll come to a state near you.
Great. So here are the questions, and keep them coming because we have about 20 more minutes when we have Arielle with us. So if your question hasn't been addressed yet or a new one comes into your brain, just type it on in. So going back to something you said earlier about glass and plastic Tupperwares and reusing them, which is such a great tip. The question is, do we always have to buy glass, or are there safe plastic options? And I know there's so much fear around BPA and all of that. So what's your thought on that?
So when it comes to plastic, again, there is a chemical in plastic called BPA. If it's not necessarily written on the package that it's non-BPA, I would definitely assume that it is. When it comes to, I would say the most important thing is when you're heating things. So when you're heating things, I definitely don't recommend using a microwave, especially for cancer survivors, but that could be a whole other question if you are interested in learning my take about that. But if you are going to be heating up any type of food, definitely heat it up in a, in a pan, in a saucepan, or in a glass container, so none of the chemicals from the container seep into the food. Safer plastic options, I would definitely say look for non-BPA free. When it comes to water bottles, there are titanium water bottles. Again, there are some glass bottles, and there also are BPA free plastic bottles as well.
Great. So someone had a question about what to do when eating out. So if you're looking at foods on a restaurant menu, how do you pick the healthiest ones?
So in regards to restaurants, I would definitely say, and I really didn't mention this in my slides, but when you're going to a restaurant, what I would definitely say is start off with a salad. Start off with a salad. It will fill you up, and most importantly, chew your food. So especially a salad, people will say, oh, salad doesn't fill me up. Well, a salad has tons of fiber, especially if it's made with dark leafy greens and vegetables that have a lot of color and fiber in it. So if you chew your food really, really well, and it like liquefies in your mouth, so you chew it about like 15 to 30 times until it liquefies in your mouth. By the time it gets to your digestive system hardly has any work to do, and you get full faster. So definitely recommend, when you're going out, stock up on salad, and very often it will fill you up even before your meal comes. Or you'll only eat half your meal, and then you end up saving money because you could take the rest of that. You could take the rest of the meal and bring it off into a doggy bag for your lunch the next day.
Great. So, is there a difference between, in terms of the nutritional content, between frozen and fresh veggies, fruits, etc.?
Really good question. It really depends on the source of it. A lot of people say that, I always recommend fresh is best. When you're eating something fresh, it means that, hopefully the food was just picked, which means that it has all of the good stuff. It makes you feel alive. When you go into the grocery aisle and you're looking for lettuces or even carrots or peppers, you want to look for really deep colors. So when you're looking for lettuce, you want to look for dark green, but you also want to look for lettuce that's not wilty. If it's wilty, it's probably not going to make you feel too good. So you want to look for lettuces that look alive and hydrated. You want to look for peppers that are deep red, really deep red. It means that it has more phytonutrients in it, which is actually really good for fighting cancer, for fighting illness, and it means that there are a lot of nutrients and minerals in it. In regards to frozen, I would definitely say that frozen is next best, and then I would say that canned is the third best. When it comes to veggies, you could definitely say that all veggies are the same. It's still a veggie, so I would definitely say, if you can't do local, you can't do fresh, then definitely do frozen.
Great. So we actually also had a similar question in terms of the nutritional content when you're talking about raw foods versus cooked foods. Do you necessarily lose a lot of the nutrition when you cook it? Are there better ways to cook it, et cetera?
Good question. So there are a lot of different types of people. So for people with thyroid issues, they say that raw kale, certain types of lettuces are not that good for you. What I would say is there are definitely a lot of benefits in raw, and then there are some benefits in cooking as well. It also depends on what you're actually cooking. So for example, garlic. Garlic is, when you chop it, when you cut it, as opposed to eating it whole, when you're actually cutting it and cooking it, the good stuff, some of the vitamins and nutrients from the garlic actually seep out of it only when it's cut. So that's and cooked. So that's definitely something that that your body absorbs better. Also tomatoes, the lycopene in tomatoes, your body will absorb better if you cook it. Also, if you sprinkle a little bit of lemon on it, it actually helps your body absorb it a little better. when you're cooking it. So there are some fruits and vegetables that are better if raw or cooked, but I would say in general it's really about knowing your body and knowing what makes you feel good and what doesn't make you feel good. When it comes to cooking techniques, I love sautéing foods. I love sautéing it on a low heat with a little bit of coconut oil. Coconut oil is actually a high heat oil. I know that I mentioned cooking with olive oil before, but olive oil is actually not a high heat oil, but coconut oil is. And it adds like a little tropical taste to your food, and it adds a lot of benefits. It's actually really good for giving you a lot of energy because your body doesn't actually metabolize the saturated fat as fat. It actually, your body uses it as energy, so it will make you feel really good. And it's antibacterial as well.
Great. So one last question, unless any more come in the next couple seconds, about kitchen tools.
Mm-hmm.
So for somebody that maybe doesn't have any or, you know, doesn't have ones that are helpful or usable or whatever, what do you think is most helpful? You talked a little bit about, you know, different cooking techniques. The question was about whether or not to splurge on a blender or a juicer, or, you know, basically I think what the question is if we have enough money for one kitchen tool or two. I don't want to put you on the spot with just one, but if we only had a little bit of money for, you know, one or two kitchen tools, which ones do you think would be most effective?
I love, love, love that question. So I would say a sauté pan. Well, I have a few, not just a sauté pan. A sauté pan, a saucepan, and a blender. And I'll go through each of them and why. You also do not have to buy this at full price. I mean, you can go to like a TJ Maxx or a Marshall's, for example, and they have a ton of pans there for cheaper prices. I mean, you can get for $5 or $10 a great pan, and you'll use it, you know, you can use it for years. I've had my pans for years, so you don't need to splurge on really, really expensive pans. What I would recommend if you're a new cook, I would definitely recommend a sauté pan. So that's a flat pan. One of the reasons why I like a sauté pan is because you can make an omelet in it. It's great for heating up leftovers. You can heat up your Chinese food in it. I also love it because you can just saute some vegetables on it, so even like the frozen spinach with coconut oil and a little bit of sea salt, or frozen spinach and a little bit of toasted sesame oil, you could just put on the pan and you can cook it right there. Then I would recommend a saucepan, and a saucepan is great for heating up, let's say like tomato sauce, or a different kind of sauce, or a soup. Even if you have a canned soup. So instead of throwing it into the microwave, you can put it into a saucepan. Even heating up water for tea, you can make your coffee in it. I love a little saucepan, and a saucepan is probably about, let's say maybe like 2 or 3 inches high, and you can get a pretty small one or a medium-sized one, and that should probably do the trick. Then I would say a blender. So I get this question a lot, but there's definitely a difference between a blender and a juicer. So on the slide right now that you're seeing of me shopping at the farmer's market, I actually grabbed a green juice. So that green juice, the way that green juice was made was that the greens were put into a juicer, and all of the fiber from the greens were extracted from it. So all of the good stuff went right into my blood, and I felt the benefits right away. If I were to take a smoothie made from a blender, what that would mean is I would put the greens in it, maybe I put some pineapple in it, some almond milk in it. If you blend it up, you're actually putting all of the greens, the whole green with the fiber, into your body. So your body actually metabolizes that a little bit slower, and it will make you fuller. It will make you more full than, let's say, a juice. So there's definitely a difference between a blender and a juicer. I would definitely say splurge on a blender. There are blenders at Bed Bath & Beyond for about $30, and it's definitely an investment, but it's definitely a good investment. I use my blender all the time. You can make hummus in it with some chickpeas and a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of sea salt. Again, you could save money and make your own hummus. You can make soups with it. You can add a little bit of water, add a little bit of canned lentils. You can add some veggies, and you can just blend it all up and make a lentil soup. Or you can also make smoothies, like I mentioned before. So this is just, it's a great, you know, thing to have on hand for a healthy snack, a healthy breakfast. But just in general, I would say a blender is really good to have because it's just versatile. And it's much cheaper than a juicer.
Okay, so now we're all hungry and thirsty. But that was great. That was actually the last of the questions, so we're going to go ahead and switch back to our slides now. And before we just cover a few last SAMFund related things, I just want to thank you again so much, Arielle, for taking the time to share what you know with our SAMFund community. That was awesome. And, you know, I think I speak for everybody when I say that it's just so helpful to not only be told that we have to eat healthy and that our health depends on it, but that we can do it and that there are ways to make it happen. So thank you for breaking that down and making it so reachable for all of us, regardless of budget size. That was tremendously helpful, and we're just so grateful to you for doing today's presentation, so thanks.
You're welcome. I was so happy to be here, and I hope you all keep in touch with me on social media or via my newsletter.
Excellent. So everyone who is participating today will get an email from us tomorrow, and we will include, as Arielle mentioned before, a link to the recipe page. So get your ingredients ready because there's some really good stuff on there. And just a few last notes for you guys, whether you're listening live or someone's listening to the recording afterwards. You can always find this recording or any of our other webinars recorded on our website, which is the samfund.org/webinar, or you can go directly to youtube.com/samfundtv. We're really proud to be able to present this webinar series, which we call Moving Forward with Your Financial Health, to you guys free of charge, thanks in large part to our partners at the Expect Miracles Foundation. And part of the reason for this webinar series in the first place is that so much focus is put on moving forward physically, moving forward emotionally, and in so many ways after a cancer diagnosis. And at the SAMFund, we really try and focus in on the ways in which it's challenging financially as well. And as you've probably seen on our website or elsewhere in our social media communities or anywhere else, our tagline at the SAMFund is "Cancer isn't free." And there's so much focus all the time put on the words cancer-free, people forget that cancer actually isn't free. And so through this webinar series, it's our goal to be giving you guidance, giving you information, presenting you with resources that can help you overcome the financial challenges that you face as a young adult with a cancer history. So please, please, please give us feedback on this webinar presentation, on the webinar series in general. There's a link that you see on your screen right now, which is bit.ly/bewell1. It'll literally take you a minute, if that, to complete the post-webinar survey. But we really do take your feedback seriously, and we use all of the input that we're given from participants to continue improving on this series and make sure that it's as helpful to you as possible. So by that same token, if you have ideas for future topics, or you want to hear more from Arielle, or you have any other feedback that you'd like to give us about today's presentation or about the webinar series in general, please email us anytime at webinars@thesamfund.org. So again, thank you all for participating. Arielle, thank you so, so much for doing such a great presentation. And stay tuned for information on our next webinar. Thanks, everybody.
Sending you all love.